and Yali Madat everyone. My name is Parvez Laka and I'm here to provide you with this week's Jamaati Institutional Update. So I genuinely hope that you enjoyed last Saturday's programme where we heard from the chairperson of the Aga Khan Economic Planning Board, Salim Jan Mohammed. Now he had some invaluable updates, especially in the current economic climate. And this was followed by an inspirational ITREB talk by Alwaez Dr Shagufa Miramalik Yar, all the way from Germany. And she reminded us about our values in everyday life. As I said, a conversation for every Ismaili dinner table. So last week's programme also ended with a trip down memory lane as we rewatched the 25th anniversary of the Ismaili Centre, London, back in 2010, with speeches from none other than Margaret Thatcher and Mawlana Hazir Imam. So this evening, before I share the programme for tonight, here are just some of the highlights of exciting events taking place in the week ahead. So tomorrow, Sunday, the Golden Club session will continue to take place at the same slot of 12:30 p.m. But this time it's going to be led by Alwaez Nisa Pradhan, and she's going to be speaking on inspirations from the life of the Prophet. Rather interesting stuff right there. And then on Tuesday, the other Parvez continues to keep us moving and gaining strength with her chair and standing exercises at the usual time of 11 a.m. And in the evening, at 8 p.m, we'll be continuing with the programme for parents, which is called On the Parenting Journey. And if you remember, I said that this had been especially developed to help parents navigate the ups and downs of raising children during these turbulent COVID times. And Thursday is yet another busy day with a number of activities, starting with the social circle at 11 a.m. And then at 6:15 p.m, Raz will be starting the evening fitness classes with Zumba. So make sure you've got your dancing shoes on, because this will also be followed by the weekly Bolly Beats class, which is run at various times depending on the type of challenge you're looking for. So if you're a beginner, you might want to join at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. But if you're looking for that little bit of challenge or you've got that Bollywood edge, then you might want to join at 8:30 p.m. or at 9:30 p.m. for the intermediate class. And then I've got a really exciting one for you on Friday. So, if you're anything like me and you're missing out on the live Kushali music parties with their dandiya and their ras, or your Spotify list just isn't really cutting it anymore, well, never fear. After much demand, the Ismaili Student Network's Kushali Music Night Party is back at 8 p.m. on Friday on Zoom. So join us as we celebrate Kushali with 3 diverse sets by 3 spectacular DJs. Believe me, there is nowhere else you'd rather be. And then we're back to Saturday, when we'll hear our next sing-along Saturday on social media, showcasing musical talent from across the Jamaat. And that's going to be followed by our next Jamaati evening programme at 7 p.m. right here. So as always, details of all of these events and much, much more can be found in our favourite weekly digest, Al-Saha, on social media pages, the IIUK app, or on the.ismaili/UK. Now, on to tonight's programme. So as always, we have yet another great, informative, exciting programme for you all. Now, over the past few weeks, we've heard from various chairpersons of various boards, and this week is no exception. So tonight, we'll first be hearing from the chairperson of the Education Board, Dr. Shaheena Janjuha-Jivraj, And we'll also be hearing from the chairperson of the Youth and Sports Board, Al-Karim Nathoo. And they will be followed by a very uplifting ITREB talk this week by Alwaez Karim Ali. And it's entitled, Looking Through Today's Problems to Tomorrow's Opportunities. Once again, highly relevant, highly interesting, and hugely inspiring. So the programme will end with a look back at Mawlana Hazir Imam's Golden Jubilee visit, but this time to Madagascar in 2007, which personally I'm quite excited to see. So that's all from me. And we hope you enjoy tonight's programme as much as you've enjoyed all the rest. And I look forward to seeing you again next Saturday, right here, when, fingers crossed, we'll be out of lockdown. So in the meantime, continue to take care, stay safe, and Ya Ali Madad.
Ya Ali Madad. 2020 has been a challenging year, and we have witnessed every aspect of education disruption due to COVID-19. Nurseries, schools, and universities went into lockdown, and as parents and carers, we had to adjust new schedules and routines, and in many cases juggling work and supporting our children. In his message to the global Jamaat in April 2020, Mawlana Hazir Imam expressed his aspirations for us to overcome the present challenges and for the Jamaat to plan to build for the future from a position of strength and wisdom. For the Aga Khan Education Board, the message was clear. Although education institutions were closed, learning was still very much open. And as a result, AKEB faced new challenges and had to fast-track the delivery of programs through new digital platforms across our jurisdiction and beyond. With technology up front and center, our offerings in early childhood education development came into their own, with various webinars covering areas including learning through play, phonics, and the importance of reading. Bringing a new baby into the world can be daunting, whether you are new to the role or seasoned parents. We know welcoming a newborn during this period has meant considerable adjustment and can be isolating without the range of services and early years provisions available. We launched Embrace, working closely with our partner institutions, including the Women's Portfolio. Embrace is a one-to-one program to support parents with newborn babies, navigating their way through the first few months after childbirth. For primary and secondary school children, we offered a wide range of webinars to help parents and children. Supporting children with homework under normal circumstances can be daunting for most of us, but attempting to provide day-to-day teaching at home has created a whole new set of challenges. The AKEB's RISE program has proved very popular, where we have teachers available to provide drop-in sessions for students who need additional help with their studies. One of AKEB's key objectives is to ensure that students are prepared for the workplace. As such, we have been focusing on developing interest and skills in areas that feed into future jobs. The World Economic Forum has identified growth in sectors such as data analysis, automation specialists, software and app developers. And these areas require science, technology, engineering and maths, otherwise known as STEM subjects. Through our coding clubs and STEM programs, we are hoping to inspire our younger Jamaati members to dream big about working in space, creating programs and technologies that will impact our lives. By 2022, over 50% of employees will need upskilling, and a third of jobs will radically transform, according to the World Economic Forum and the OECD. We have been working to increase awareness among our students to help set them up with the right skills for the future job market and open up options for when they need to start thinking about their careers. Understanding these changes can be confusing, and to prepare for this, check out our podcasts on the future of work and opportunities for university students to access internships. Today, more than ever, developing a growth mindset is essential for success, as it underpins motivation and achievement regardless of your age. A growth mindset takes the approach to figure out how to make things happen, learning from failure, and building resilience to keep going even when it seems very difficult. As Hazir Imam said in Osh on the 30th of October 2002, and I quote, "There is no greater form of preparation for change than education," unquote. Now, as we are facing a time of great change, both in terms of key skills and technological advancements, lifelong learning is essential. To prepare our Jamaat for these changes, AKEB has launched Head Start, an online learning platform hosting our webinars where we have had 6,000 views of our content. Head Start also hosts hundreds of external education programs, leading to nationally recognized qualifications. Access through Head Start provides the Jamaat with free certificates upon completion of these courses, and we are pleased that 400 Jamaati members have signed up for these courses, and we have issued 263 certificates. I'm excited to share that we are launching a new partnership with the Open University, which will provide access to courses to recognize voluntary work and develop life skills, again available through Head Start. With Hazir Imam's continuous emphasis on the importance of learning English, most recently during the Diamond Jubilee Mulakat in Lisbon, our program has been met with great enthusiasm. Over 300 Jamaati members have enrolled in My Language Journey, a program to teach English as a second language. Our weekly classes are for all levels and all ages. Our youngest participant is aged 9 and our eldest is over 60 years old. We now have Jamaati members from 15 countries participating, including Tajikistan and Syria. It can be daunting trying to decide which education path to take, and Leap Up is a program that provides mentoring to help adult learners get back into education. We have 38 Jamaati members working on this program and progressing their education journey. 2020 has been an important year of collaboration for us. The lockdown provided us with the opportunity to develop an even more creative approach to working together, finding digital solutions, and deliver programs. We transitioned our work with the Aga Khan Education Services and schools in Central Asia to online delivery, and our science programs went virtual. We worked with our partner AKEBs worldwide to deliver a virtual science fair involving over 1,200 children across the global Jamaat. Every initiative I have shared would not have been possible without the enormous support and service of Jamaati members. We rely on an extensive network of volunteers, many of whom are from the education field, and have provided time and expertise while still working under difficult and demanding circumstances. We owe a debt of gratitude to our educators, and we look forward to welcoming more teachers to support us with any of the programs I have shared with you. Our priorities for 2021 will continue to focus on education support across Europe and targeted help for families whose children need additional support due to the disruption this year. Recent research has shown the impact of the lockdown learning loss on education. And as I've shared today, we have the resources to support parents to ensure our children do not struggle further as a result of the pandemic. To finish, I'd like to remind us of our Imam's emphasis on education, made during his address to the Canadian Parliament in 2014, and I quote, "This record of educational opportunity resonates strongly with the Shia Ismaili belief in the transformative power of the human intellect. A conviction that underscores AKDN's massive commitment to education wherever we are present. Not only education for our faith, but also of education for our world." Unquote. Thank you, and Yali Madad.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Good evening, and Ya Ali Madad. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my address this evening. It feels wonderful to be back in the Ismaili Center. The last time I was here was over 3 months ago for our second daughter's bay'ah. In fact, that was probably the last time I put on a suit and tie. And for this address, I have even worn some aftershave for you. Over the last 8 months, the world has been in turmoil. But tonight, my message is of hope and optimism. This year has shown us the marvel of the human spirit. And as I look to the future, I believe we have much to look forward to. Over the coming weeks, we will be celebrating our beloved Mawlana Hazir Imam's 84th birthday, as well as the festive period and the new year. All three are opportunities to connect with our families and communities, our global Jamaat, and with people from around the world to give thanks for the blessings in our lives and to celebrate new beginnings. We as a Youth and Sports Board have spent a considerable amount of time debating the social implications of this global pandemic and how it has and will continue to change the future of our institutional work. With meetings, travel, and many of our programs postponed, we initially hunkered down to support the institutions and focus solely on key activities to support the vulnerable members within our Jamaat. We then transitioned and were able to quickly pivot to the new virtual landscape, and over the past 6 months have been able to engage with the youth in the Jamaat across an array of digital programs, ranging from virtual chess tournaments to online Zumba and bodyfit classes. Our Stories on the Rooftop and Cookies and Conversations programs successfully transitioned online, and we delivered over 25 Show Me How sessions, providing opportunities for our talented youth to showcase their skills. In collaboration with the Tariqa and Religious Education Board, we also delivered a number of very popular virtual camps for our UK and European youth. I could carry on. We certainly have got our money's worth with our Zoom account. At the last count, we have hosted over 300 separate events and meetings on Zoom over the past 6 months. In 2021, our programmatic activity continues in the same vein, with virtual programs and hopefully in-person programs focused around our 8 key priority areas. In addition, we will continue to collaborate with our partner institutions to support the delivery of religious education, as well as focusing on mental health and employment skills for our youth. There is much to look forward to, and if any of you have ideas or suggestions, please do reach out to me or to any of our board members. Our details can be found in the IIUK directory. Aside from the programmatic activity, equally, we feel that over the coming months, it is important to acknowledge the debate going on about whether this kind of crisis brings out the best or worst in people. It has and will continue to challenge each of us to examine who we are. Do we choose fear over faith, apathy over empathy, indifference over compassion? Will we emerge with our spirits broken, or with greater enlightenment. We watched in the early months of the pandemic as people clambered over each other in supermarkets, desperate to secure essential supplies for themselves. But equally, we saw people confined to home, stepping out onto their balconies to sing in unison in cities across Europe. And yes, even here in the UK, we came out to clap for our key workers who have kept the country moving. We listen as people say previously well-worn greetings, like "take care," with greater meaning. As a devout Arsenal fan, it pains me to praise players from rival clubs, especially Manchester United. But it has been inspiring to see a Premiership footballer, Marcus Rashford, rally the support of thousands of individuals and local businesses to support in his attempt to get the government to provide meals for the poorest children in England. So I believe we will emerge more enlightened and hopeful. A message that our Imam has also shared with us in a speech at the Aiglon College in Switzerland in 2014. And I quote, "And you will be asking yourselves how, as nano players on the global scene, you could cause positive change to happen for yourselves, your families, your peoples. My answer is hope. Fortunately, just as fear can be infectious, so hope is infectious. When individuals and families and communities, or even nations come together around newfound hope, that new momentum can be unstoppable. The smile replaces the frown. Conversation replaces silence. Fear of the future is replaced by confidence to respond to its challenges," unquote. And perhaps what we might see after this is all over is a great reconnecting. Perhaps we will recognize that social cohesion cannot be wrapped up in an app or achieved with a double tap. That purposeful connection needs human-to-human presence to flourish, and that the power of convening rests in the individual, in each one of us, not online. We will not let social distancing become a mindset of mutual distancing. To the youth in our Jamaat, and to clarify, I still see myself as one of them, I say that now is the time to be innovative and work harder to reaffirm the sense of belonging amongst ourselves. To continue to behave in a manner that is aligned with the ethics of our faith. And inshallah, emerge from these challenging times enlightened with a stronger sense of belief and inspired to reach out and help one another in our Jamaat and in our communities. And perhaps when this is over, we will all open our front doors to breathe fresh air, reconnecting with members of our Jamaat, young and old, by asking, "Ya Ali Madad, how are you?" and really mean it. Let us pray for the safety and security of the global Jamaat, for the easing of their difficulties, and for the continued health and protection of you, your friends, and your families, wherever they may be. Ameen. Good evening, and Ya Ali Madad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Members of the Jamaat, Ya Ali Madad. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to speak with the Jamaat on the topic, looking through today's problems to tomorrow's opportunities. And let me start by talking about why I chose this title and share with you an interesting story. In 1991, Mawlana Hazir Imam came to Pakistan for 17 days. On the 16th of November, Mawlana Hazir Imam attended the 4th convocation of the AKU and spoke with the new graduates. In his speech, a one-liner of many stood out very distinctly, full of insight and historical significance, and I believe a hallmark of Ismaili history, which then makes the title of our talk. Mawlana Hazir Imam said, quote, "We must look through today's problems to tomorrow's opportunities." Thus, the very title of my presentation will be the foundation of this talk. And through a couple of inspiring stories, I will build the edifice with 3 key pillars or lessons, which will be the takeaways of this brief talk. Now, let me speak on the foundational statement first. Right from the time of revelation and throughout our history, with all the challenges that came, we have always been guided to look at problems straight in their faces and deal with them as positively and faithfully as possible and seize the opportunities that lie hidden in these challenges. And this is because our Imams have always guided us to seek inspiration and face challenges head on. In the words of Iqbal, "Tundiye baade mukhalif se na ghabra e ukhab. Ye to chalti hai tujhe uncha udane ke liye." Don't fear the intense, violent, opposing wind, O eagle. It is only blowing against you, so may you fly even higher. And that has been, I believe, our historical hallmark. I want to share with you 2 inspiring stories from our history and show you how we saw through the challenges of that time to the future opportunities. I will draw 3 lessons from the first story, same 3 lessons from the second story, and then we will try to apply these 3 lessons to our situation today. And I would also like to invite the Jamaat to draw their own conclusions. Our situations are very different from each other. And thinking about these things, personal reflection, tafakkur, in the words of the Quran, is central to the building of faith. Let me take you to the time of the Prophet, 7th century. The Prophet receives the revelation, "Iqra bi ismi rabbika allazi khalaq." And then after a short hiatus, he is asked by Allah, "Qum fa'anzir," rise and warn. It is then that the Prophet takes Allah's message of monotheism, of one community or ummah, and social justice. And when he does that, he comes face to face with the harsh realities of the opposition to him and to his teachings. The leaders of Quraysh began to worry about the future of their livelihoods and also about their status in Mecca. The earliest biographers, such as Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Hisham, and Tabari, writing about Prophet Muhammad and his followers, describe how they began to face persecution by the Makkans. On several occasions, the Prophet is insulted. When he comes to worship to Kaaba, people are not happy with him. Some of the early converts were attacked and dragged along the street by their beards. The Quraysh had several of the early converts as their captives. When all this did not work, the leaders of Quraysh came together and decided to boycott the Prophet, his clan, and all his followers. They hung a document on Kaaba, "No one shall buy or sell to anyone from Prophet's clan or his followers," and would not allow anyone to marry into them. Some would heckle the Prophet in public sermons, telling the crowd not to follow this man or pay any attention to him. Some tossed thorns and sharp branches in front of Prophet Muhammad when he passed by. And some actually plotted against the Prophet's life. Now, members of the Jamaat, the persecution in Mecca continued for 10 years, which ended with migration of Muslims to Medina. The migration or hijrah, therefore, becomes a turning point, a milestone for the early Muslims. It gave them the freedom from the boycott, from the oppression, and from continuous fear. It resulted into what Mawlana Sultan Muhammad Shah alayhi salam wrote in his memoirs, and I quote, "A rapid and brilliant new flowering of humanity's capacity and desire for adventure and discovery in the realms of both spirit and intellect." That flowering, Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah said, began in Arabia. Its origin and impetus were given to it by my holy ancestor, the Prophet Muhammad, and we know it by the name of Islam, unquote. Now, the question I would pose to the Jamaat is, what do we think were the key ideals that Muslims of Prophet's time imbibed, practiced, that gave them the possibility to bear the pain of their circumstances and come out of it as a successful Muslim community? In other words, what made them resilient? Today, when we are facing our own problems, is there anything for us to learn from there? And I would submit, apart from many lessons could be learned, I would talk about 3 today. The Prophet's mission created a profound sense of community, which is the ideal of Ummah. This created a sense of identity, a deep sense of identity and belonging amongst earliest converts to Islam. Let me plant a seed here. The first thing that the Prophet did in Medina was to create a space where people can come and congregate. Secondly, the Prophet preached monotheism as opposed to polytheism, which was the order of the day in Mecca for many. The Prophet preached Qul huwallahu ahad. The practice of faith, the sense of belonging to the divine, Inna lillahi, we belong to Allah, we are of Allah, sets the foundation which was unwavering, and it became central to the new Muslim community, providing confidence, courage, and strength from their practices, whatever practices they were doing at that particular time in history. Thirdly, the Muslim community during the time of the Prophet followed the Prophet's guidance in its letter and spirit. They understood the vision of the Prophet. They knew that the Prophet's hand is guided by Allah. They internalized this vision and they worked hard towards following the Prophet's guidance. Now, there is a lot for us to learn from these 3 important points, and we will return to these 3 lessons, these 3 pillars of our foundation after our second story. Now, from the 7th century, let me fast forward you to the 20th century. On the 4th of August, 1972, the president of Uganda, Idi Amin, declared a dream that instructed him to expel 80,000 Asians from Uganda, and that too within 90 days. Now, this was a terrible time for many who had made Uganda their permanent home, including about 12,000 Ismailis. People lost everything they had worked for, their homes, their properties, their livelihood, their businesses, all this was lost overnight. Now, through various means and with the help of United Nations, people got resettled in many parts of the world, including in Britain, in Italy, Scandinavian countries, in Canada, to rebuild their lives again. And let me give you one instance from Canada, because I have studied the Canadian story. Canada is a big country, and some 6,200 people came from Uganda to Canada. They were scattered from east to west in all small cities, in big cities. Interestingly, the first thing people did in Canada, everywhere, was to find a place to meet. In Vancouver, it was in Burnaby, in a place on a street called Edmonds. In Toronto, it was on Eglinton. It is these places of meeting and congregation that people found belonging to the community. Remember, the Prophet first created a place to congregate in Medina. Many of the Ugandans knew each other, many of them did not. But they had a common bond of community. They were all children of the Imam of the time. They found solace through faith. And in addition, they found homes to rent, jobs to go to, know how to live in Canada, in these places of meeting. In the winter months, with snow and sub-zero temperatures, the Jamaat found warmth and hope in the spirit of community. So there was a spirit of community, resilience of faith, and the grace of the leadership of the Imam, which made them rebuild their lives again. The Jamaats were able to look through their problems to the future opportunities. They did not give up because their hopes were tied with the ideal of their history and their faith. Today, we talk about Uganda somewhat differently. And let me play a small clip from the opening of the Aga Khan Park in Canada.
And what happened in Uganda with Idi Amin, you all know. I don't need to remind you of that. And Canada, province of Ontario, opened their arms. And you said, please come to Canada. And there's a joke, which I may repeat to you, of a Canadian who goes into an Ismaili home and sees a big picture of Idi Amin on the wall. Well, what's that? Why is he there? And the answer from the Ismaili family is, every day we thank him for throwing us into Canada.
You see, we were able to make lemonade out of lemons when they were served to us. Now let us come to the present challenges that we are facing and see how we can learn from our history, and if we can apply some of the learnings from our history to the present situation. We were confronted with an invisible virus. If the lessons of history are true, we might be able to apply some of these lessons to make our foundational statement to look through today's problems to tomorrow's opportunities a reality. First, we are living through unprecedented times. As a Jamaat, let us stay connected with the community life so that loneliness, seclusion does not get to us physically or mentally. That means connecting with Jamaati programs online, keeping in touch with our families and friends, making new friends. Also to look for people whom we can serve. In this time, when we cannot congregate physically, We need to phone people, help people, talk with them, serve in Jamaati institutions, contribute our time, our intellect, our resources for the Jamaat. Giving is the best way to gaining in life. All the time, much more at this particular time in our history. Secondly, as we see the light at the end of the tunnel, with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines coming out, our struggles are not yet over. It will still take some time, and complacency is not advised. We want to protect every member of the Jamaat. Masks, hand washing, social distancing, the Imam has reminded us in his recent message. They are all required. Just as people worked hard after losing everything in Uganda or in Mecca or at other times in history, as I said, this particular principle that we are talking about has been part of our history throughout 1400 years. As people did that during the course of history, we need to make sure that we work hard, we follow the guidance of the Imam of the time and his institutions. I want to recommend to the Jamaat that every single morning we read through at least one of the recent messages that have come from Mawlana Hazir Imam since this pandemic started. They are at our fingertips. And in the morning, to get inspired by the blessings and the words of the Imam would set us up well for the rest of the day. Thirdly, we need to remain connected with our own personal individual practices of faith. We know what our obligations are. So to start the day with a few minutes of meditative prayer, maybe an hour, or other prayers, sets us right to encounter the day. Let us carry our faith with us at all times. The message from the Imam on the role of faith is very clear. Let me show you a small clip from a PBS interview that Mawlana Hazir Imam Salawatullah Alayhi gave at the Ismaili Center, Toronto in 2014.
How much are you guided by your faith? Is your faith everything?
Yes. Wouldn't be guided by anything else. I wouldn't understand that.
So every minute of your day you're guided by your faith.
Well, the faith has 1400 years of tradition. It has been exposed to so many different situations that there's practically no human situation unknown to it, although science is changing things today.
So let us get inspired by the light of our faith every single day. In conclusion, today we have discussed the foundational ideal to always look for opportunities through all our trials and tribulations. And the sources we discussed to achieve them are our commitment to our community life, to our practice of faith, and following the guidance of Mawlana Hazir Imam, which will inshallah make us resilient and strong going forward. Thank you very much, and Ya Ali Madad.
l'avenir dans le développement de Madagascar et ce que nous pouvons peut-être contribuer, en particulier dans le domaine de l'agriculture, dans le domaine du microcrédit. Et puis nous avons analysé un peu les nécessités d'avenir dans les domaines particulièrement de l'infrastructure. Et donc c'est un partenariat que nous essayons de renforcer encore.
Son Altesse, honorables invités, l'honneur m'est choix de vous souhaiter la bienvenue en terre malgache, au nom de son Excellence M. Marc Ravalman, président de la République et du gouvernement et du peuple malgache, et aussi de vous présenter nos chaleureuses félicitations pour votre jubilé d'or marquant le 50e anniversaire de votre accession à l'imama. Au plan religieux, notre époque est marquée par des mouvements dans des sens contraires, sécularisme accru dans certaines parties du monde et religiosité accrue dans d'autres. Aussi, votre attitude de chef spirituel tolérant, modéré et respectueux des autres est-elle précieuse. Le monde, en effet, a besoin de leaders capables de témoigner par leurs paroles et leurs actes que les religions peuvent être une force pour la paix, la justice, les valeurs éthiques communes et le développement. Son Altesse, la communauté ismaéliste à Madagascar est modeste en nombre, mais très importante au plan de la présence économique. Elle est bien intégrée dans la société malgache et laborieuse et réussit merveilleusement dans les affaires.
Je tenais tout d'abord, et tout particulièrement, à vous remercier pour l'invitation que vous m'avez adressée au nom du Président de la République et du gouvernement malgache, ainsi que pour l'accueil chaleureux et l'hospitalité si caractéristique du peuple malgache que vous m'avez réservé. Cela me va droit au cœur. Je voudrais également vous dire combien vos mots me flattent et m'honorent, tout autant qu'ils honorent ma communauté. C'est en 1956, il y a 50 ans, que pour la première fois j'ai mis les pieds sur le sol malgache. Parmi les visites effectuées depuis, celle-ci revêt un caractère particulier et symbolique pour moi et ma communauté. Je célèbre en effet l'année de mon jubilé d'or et je vous remercie de vos félicitations à cette occasion. Et je vais visiter tous les pays chers à mon cœur et ayant une signification particulière pour les Ismailis et moi-même. La communauté ismaélie implantée à Madagascar depuis une centaine d'années s'est fortement impliquée dans la vie économique et sociale du pays et s'est fondue dans le tissu national pour devenir l'une des nombreuses cultures et traditions qui font la richesse du pays. L'éthique de l'islam établit un lien indissociable entre la vie spirituelle et la vie matérielle, din et dunya. En conséquence, mes responsabilités de chef spirituel et d'interprète de la foi vont-elles de pair avec un profond engagement en faveur de l'amélioration de la qualité de la vie. Cette action ne se limite pas à la communauté ismaélie, elle s'étend à tous ceux qui partagent leur vie, que ce soit à l'échelle locale, nationale ou internationale. Notre devoir est de chercher à libérer les hommes de la pauvreté. Et pour moi, pauvreté signifie être sans abri, sans protection, sans accès à la médecine, à l'éducation, au crédit et sans espoir d'autonomie face à son destin. C'est pourquoi, en tant qu'imam des Ismaélis, j'ai considéré qu'il était de mon devoir de relever les défis auxquels ces populations sont confrontées aujourd'hui. J'ai choisi de m'engager dans des projets de développement dans tous ces domaines, par l'intermédiaire d'un groupe d'agences privées connu sous le nom de Réseau Aga Khan de développement, AKEB, un réseau multisectoriel ayant pour but de combattre la pauvreté au service de tous, sans distinction de religion ni d'origine. En mai 2005, avec le soutien du gouvernement de Madagascar et des ministres ici présents, nous avons identifié la région de Sofia afin d'y établir un programme de développement rural. Et, Monsieur le Premier ministre, vous avez bien voulu vous y référer. Ce programme, utilisant des méthodes novatrices, notamment dans la formation des paysans, a permis de doubler le rendement à l'hectare de la production risicole et bénéficie d'ores et déjà à près de 10 000 agriculteurs participants. En s'appuyant sur son savoir-faire acquis dans plus de 12 pays d'Afrique et d'Asie, nous avons également introduit en 2006 à Madagascar une agence de microfinance, la PAMF, qui compte à ce jour 7 filiales en zone rurale et urbaine et près de 3 000 clients. L'importance capitale que le Madagascar Action Plan accorde à l'éducation a particulièrement retenu notre attention car il concourt avec l'approche de notre réseau. L'objectif est de stopper la fuite des cerveaux, véritable fléau des pays en voie de développement, en proposant des universités aux standards internationaux dans des campus régionaux tels que celui que je viens juste d'annoncer à Arusha, qui pourrait à terme servir tous les pays de l'Afrique de l'Est et de l'océan Indien. Madagascar, en ayant identifié les défis auxquels sa population fait face, a clairement défini sa feuille de route. Et c'est en partageant de manière idoine avec le réseau Aga Khan de développement sa vision du futur que nous pouvons dorénavant avancer main dans la main pour les générations à venir. Merci.
La région de la Sofia est la plus oubliée, peut-être, si je peux dire. On ne trouve même pas des organisations internationales. Donc la Fondation Aga Khan était vraiment souhaitée par la population. Au démarrage de ce programme, c'était mai 2005. La production dans la région de Sofia était de 1,7 tonnes par hectare. Actuellement, à travers de l'appui apporté par la Fondation Aga Khan, nous sommes arrivés jusqu'à 5 tonnes. En général, les paysans qui ont déjà commencé à travailler avec nous, donc ils ont commencé à faire aussi extension sur leur propre champ, quoi. Vu l'existence de l'AKAM dans la région, donc l'AKAM propose des prêts groupés pour les riziculteurs pour financer leur reste de terrain et surtout pour financer la main-d'œuvre de repiquage.
Amenako zany ray aman-dreny Andriamatoa Saka no agnarako ato amin'ny fokontany Ambalafary ary somy tenany mifokon'ologno ato amin'ny fokotany lemaka Ambalafary. Faly mirahabanareo ny tenanay noho ny fahatongavanareo ato amin'ny lemaka Ambalafary aminay zao.
Comme vous le savez, notre pays aujourd'hui met en œuvre le plan d'action en Madagascar. Et ce plan d'action prévoit de doubler ou de tripler la production alimentaire dans un délai très court pour que notre producteur ou pour que le peuple malgache soit rassasié. L'impact du projet ou la contribution du projet de la Fondation Aga Khan dans cet objectif n'est pas négligeable. Par le renforcement des capacités des producteurs, par l'approche participative aux recherches appliquées de la gestion intégrée du riz ou la PRAGIR qu'ils appliquent ici dans cette région, on a pu doubler ou même tripler la production des paysans dans certains endroits. L'impact du volet microfinance commence aussi à porter son fruit actuellement et permettez-moi, Son Altesse, de vous exprimer le souhait du gouvernement d'étendre dans une échelle encore plus grande les activités du projet et pourquoi pas dans d'autres régions et dans d'autres domaines. Son Altesse, au nom du ministère de l'Agriculture, de l'Élevage et de la Pêche et du gouvernement, nous vous exprimons notre profonde gratitude d'avoir visité pour la 3e fois Madagascar et d'avoir visité cette région. Vive la coopération Fondation Aga Khan avec l'État malgache. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous remercie.
Messieurs, Mesdames les autorités, partenaires dans ce programme à Sofia, je vous souhaite d'abord, comme on dit chez nous aussi, salam, c'est-à-dire la paix parmi tous. Je voulais profiter de cette occasion pour vous remercier. Remercier le gouvernement du Madagascar, les autorités locales, la population locale, parce que vous avez fait confiance à la Fondation pour créer un partenariat. Ce partenariat est extrêmement important, dans le sens qu'il espère avoir un impact sur la qualité de vie de la population de Sofia. Et c'est également une opportunité pour la Fondation d'apprendre quelles sont les nécessités des populations rurales du Madagascar, d'en tirer des leçons et de pouvoir, j'espère, appliquer ces leçons à d'autres zones du Madagascar et à d'autres populations rurales d'Afrique. La Fondation s'est engagée avec vous. Et cet engagement est un engagement d'apprentissage pour la Fondation, puisque nous n'avons jamais eu d'activité auparavant dans les zones rurales du Madagascar. Cet apprentissage a déjà démontré des résultats. Et pour la Fondation, c'est un bonheur énorme de pouvoir voir quels sont les résultats que vous avez obtenus. D'abord, je voudrais vous confirmer que la Fondation souhaite élargir ses activités dans la région et faire bénéficier d'autres populations rurales du Madagascar de ce que nous avons appris ici. Mais nous voulons étendre nos activités à différents domaines, dans la santé, dans l'éducation et dans l'habitat. Et je souhaite que dans les années à venir, nous puissions faire grandir notre partenariat pour avoir un impact encore plus large sur la qualité de vie des populations de Sofia et ailleurs. Le microcrédit. Le microcrédit doit être soutenu, élargi, développé, et il doit vous apporter de nouveaux soutiens dans de nouvelles activités, dans la santé, dans l'éducation, dans le commerce, dans l'infrastructure. Donc, je regarde vers l'avenir avec une très grande confiance. Confiance parce que ce partenariat auquel vous avez bien voulu vous joindre est en train de se révéler comme un partenariat victorieux. Et je crois que dans la victoire, nous pouvons tous être très, très heureux. Et je vous en félicite et je vous remercie.
Ce rouvre, tout d'abord, c'est ce qu'on appelle donc un palais, hein, et une enceinte royale. Rouvre, ça veut dire enceinte, et dans tout Madagascar, il en existe plusieurs. Celui-ci, qu'on nomme Rouvre d'Antananarivo, c'est parce que dans la région des Hautes-Terres, en hiverne, il y en avait 12 collines sacrées. Et le Rouvre d'Antananarivo fait partie de ces 12 collines sacrées instaurées par le roi Anjanapunmer, qui est en fait le grand roi qui a commencé à unifier le pays. Il représente 4 siècles d'histoire de Madagascar. Ce rouvre est le symbole de l'unification de Madagascar. Il représente l'histoire, par exemple, l'histoire de ces 4 siècles de royaume. Ce rouvre aussi est le symbole de l'adhésion de Madagascar au christianisme. Ce site est le symbole ou bien une référence identitaire pour le peuple malgache. C'est un patrimoine national, un patrimoine culturel parce que ça renferme toute l'histoire et ensuite ça renferme en fait la civilisation, hein, de Madagascar durant ces 4 siècles. Donc un malgache, il a son référence identitaire à partir de ce rouvre d'Antananarivo. Et une fois qu'il a brûlé en 1995, c'est que c'était vraiment le désastre. Et actuellement, l'État essaie de reconstruire pour que nous avons un nouveau lieu de mémoire avec ce rouvre qui sera reconstruit. Voilà.
Et merci infiniment de cette visite. Voilà.
Fambanoa zavaitra kely dia hoe abetsaka zany ny hoe mpamatsy vola zany ny otiva sy ny karazany reny fa ohatrany hoe nahatonga nanao an'le microfinance ohatrany hoe nisy tombontsoa kokoa zany le izy ohatrany hoe reo zany efa talohan'ny microfinance raha mifandinako anazy fa ohatrany tsy sahako niditra nefa ny voany satatra ny microfinance aty dia ohatrany hoe azoko antoka zany le izy na eo an'ny lafiny rehetrarehetra le izy dia ohatrany hoe mety aminay foana le izy dia mba mangataka fitohizan'ny fiaraha-miasa zany.
Ny fianakaviana aloha zay fa manana ohatrany anona zao ny ankohonanay zao dia izy zao roa ny zanany ny ralako aty dia ny ako roa ny zanako zany hoe efa mianaka zany zay ray marina ny hoe izy efa mianaka ny eo amin'ny trano dia efa mianaka dia tena hoe mieritraika tsara mihitsy satria hitanao hoe ny fiainana amin'izao hoe be dia be ny zavatra tsy maintsy saninao mitokantrano ny fianaran'ny ankizy ny zavatra rehetra zany dia hita hoe zay mihitsy zany le tena hoe nanome solution mihitsy le famatsinan'le vola satria nahavita ny zavatra rehetra tokony natao.
Aujourd'hui, nous voulons exprimer notre reconnaissance à Kodawin pour la direction, la vision, l'exemple personnel et les réalisations de Hazir Imam qui ont propulsé le Jamaat à travers le monde à un tel niveau d'estime que le mot gratitude ne pourrait jamais suffire à l'exprimer. Combien de fois avons-nous personnellement vécu cette extraordinaire expérience? Toutes les fois que nous pensons avoir atteint un but ou un objectif établi, Kodawin nous propose un nouveau challenge. Nous apprenons alors que si nous voulons avoir un impact réel sur la vie du Jamaat, dans un monde en perpétuelle évolution et dans la noble tradition de l'imamat, les institutions Jamaati et leurs leaders doivent continuellement s'améliorer et ne jamais, jamais relâcher leurs efforts. À l'issue de ce mémorable et historique départ à Madagascar, toutes les institutions et le Jamaat de la juridiction de Madagascar renouvellent à Kodawin leur affectueux shukran. Kodawin, vous avez gâté notre Jamaat et nous vous en sommes infiniment reconnaissants. Afin de marquer cette occasion historique du dîner institutionnel Jamaati lors du Golden Jubilee, Hazir Imam, nous demandons respectueusement votre permission pour vous offrir un petit souvenir de la part du leadership de Madagascar.
l'offre spirituelle. Vous m'avez gâté. Vous m'avez gâté en me recevant d'une manière merveilleuse ici au Madagascar. Et depuis le moment où j'ai atterri jusqu'à ce soir, ça a été une gâterie sans fin. Et je voulais vous remercier pour tout ce que vous avez fait pour rendre cette visite si heureuse pour moi. Et en me donnant ce cadeau merveilleux, en me rappelant qu'en fin de compte, c'est ce que nous souhaitons, c'est de danser dans la vie. C'est d'être heureux. Et j'espère que vous êtes heureux, comme moi je suis heureux, à l'occasion de ce jubilé d'or. Le président vous a dit que j'étais, et il n'a pas utilisé le mot, mais c'était clair, que j'étais exigeant. Je le reconnais. Je suis exigeant, parce que je suis fier de mon job. Je suis fier de nos traditions. Je suis fier de notre interprétation de notre foi. Je suis fier de la manière dont on peut regarder l'avenir et construire cet avenir autour de valeurs sûres, de valeurs établies, de valeurs qui sont respectées partout dans le monde. Partout dans le monde. Et donc, quand de temps en temps je dis à mes leaders, il faut réaliser ceci ou il faut réaliser cela, c'est parce que j'aimerais continuer avec vous à construire pour les générations à venir et à m'assurer dans le maximum possible que tous les pays où vive le Jamaat soient des pays d'opportunité. Il faut qu'on partage les connaissances que nous avons d'une communauté à l'autre, d'une institution à l'autre. Il faut que nous fassions de la communauté ismaélienne dans le monde une énorme famille, talentueuse, compétente, respectée. Et ça, c'est l'objectif que j'ai pour mon Jamaat. Et les leaders qui sont là ce soir représentent cet effort. C'est vous qui permettez d'avancer, c'est pas moi. C'est les leaders du Jamaat, c'est le Jamaat en entier qui s'engagent dans la direction que l'imam du temps vous demande de suivre. Parce qu'il est confiant que c'est la bonne direction pour nous de suivre. Et de temps en temps, j'entends dire, mais comment est-ce que vous faites? Et j'ai envie de leur dire, c'est pas moi, c'est mon Jamaat. Et ça me fait rire quelquefois quand j'entends des personnes qui me disent, qu'est-ce que vous avez de la chance? Et j'ai envie de leur dire, vous n'avez aucune idée quelle chance. Parce que j'ai pas envie de les rendre encore plus jaloux qu'ils ne le sont. En tout cas, je voulais vous dire que cette visite au Madagascar a été une visite merveilleuse, que j'ai confiance dans l'avenir au Madagascar et en Afrique, que nous devons continuer à travailler, construire pour l'avenir de ce pays et construire des institutions stables et aider dans la bonne gouvernance. Il va falloir du temps pour construire des formules de gouvernance qui correspondent à ce dont nous avons besoin dans les différents pays où vive la communauté. Et je crois que nous allons voir assez souvent des faillites dans la démocratie. Parce que la démocratie n'est pas une notion qui peut s'appliquer de la même manière partout dans le monde. Il faudra beaucoup de travail, beaucoup de patience, beaucoup d'éducation. Parce que la gouvernance est une réalité qui change dans le temps, comme les populations changent dans le temps. Et donc, il faut avoir l'humilité pour dire j'ai besoin d'apprendre, j'ai besoin de construire, j'ai besoin de permettre à nos sociétés de se gouverner d'une manière compétente et équitable pour tout le monde. Et ce n'est pas facile. Je suis conscient qu'il y a devant nous
des années où il faudra aider les pays en voie de développement d'Afrique et d'Asie à dialoguer sur ces sujets d'une manière ouverte et franche. Parce que finalement, c'est dans le débat public que ce genre de problème, on trouve souvent les meilleures solutions parce qu'on arrive à créer un consensus autour d'un certain nombre de notions. Le point qui probablement vous inquiète aussi, c'est les rapports entre l'islam et l'Occident. J'en suis très conscient. Les rapports entre différentes interprétations de l'islam. Je ne veux pas entrer dans les détails ce soir. Je vous assure que je suis ça de très très près. Et je crois que nous n'avons aucune raison de changer les lignes directrices qui sont les nôtres. Suivons les lignes directrices qui sont les nôtres. Elles sont légitimes, elles sont intelligentes, et je pense qu'elles ont fait leur preuve dans le temps. Bon, je vous souhaite des années de bonheur et de succès dans tout ce que vous faites, et je vous exprime toute ma gratitude pour la contribution que vous avez faite, que vous continuerez à faire pour la qualité de vie des populations des pays où vous vivez et du Jamaat. Et de loin, je regardais ce que vous faites. Mais attention, j'écoute. J'écoute et j'essaie de comprendre les problèmes que vous avez à traiter. Bonne soirée. vous souhaite des années de bonheur et de succès dans tout ce que vous faites et je vous exprime toute ma gratitude pour la contribution que vous avez faite, que vous continuerez à faire pour la qualité de vie des populations des pays où vous vivez et du Jamaat. Et de loin, je regarde ce que vous faites.